welcome back. Early morning hustle, let's go. Today we're going to talk about looping structures, aka iterations within R. So let's go ahead and just jump right into it. Move myself a little bit. Oh, that's not what I want to do. I want to go here, then here, positron, and I'm still in my I'm still here. It's good. So one of the things I didn't do with you all is that I provided myself a directory for the previous videos, 5 through 8. So that is there, and now I have 9 through 12 here. Okay. So I can go ahead and click on this, and I didn't do that for you because you should already know how to do that by now. Okay. So I'm going to go to visual, and so I believe that one of the prerequisites for this class is that you had some type of exposure in Python regarding looping. Okay, or at least you have experience in CS 101 that has Python, that you've gotten some experience with looping. So I'm not going to hold you there. I'm going to assume that you already know this stuff, some of the stuff. However, the syntax in R is a little different. It's a tad bit different. Okay, so one of the first structures that you should be familiar with is something called a for loop. Okay, for loop. So what you're allowed to do is iterate through a vector which has a fixed size and provide information based off of that, or perform a certain type of task based off of the number of elements within that vector. So in this situation, it says columns to summarize, right? And that's miles per gallon, horsepower, and weight within this vector. So they're all strings. And so this for loop, what it's doing, it's going to go through each element, and we're going to store that number of that particular element within call. Okay, so it's going to be from 1 to 3. And then then utilize the information stored in call within this functionality, within this, okay? And then it's going to make that call, so find the index that corresponds to that index, the number that corresponds to that column, and then is going to then find the mean according to this function, and then take the mean and then print it out. So if we were to run this, we should, I think it should be in the console, get the means of the corresponding variables, miles per gallon, horsepower, weight. So if we add another variable here, qsec, okay, I'm going off script. Usually doesn't work out for me, but I'm going to still do it, qsec. So there should be now 4 variables, okay? Let's run this. Let me get it here. All right. So then take a moment and go ahead and try to create this for loop that allows you to print out an iteration, okay? Print out each iteration from this for loop. So if you had paused the video and tried this, okay, what you would do is start off with I, or you could provide any element here. I could have done call, but I'm just going to traditionally use I. And then what I'm going to do is provide a vector. This is going to be new syntax, new syntax potentially. 1:5. Okay, 1:5 legitimately is a vector from 1 to 5. Okay, I could do the same thing with a sequence function, 1:5, same thing. Then all I'm going to do is just print out I. Okay, so paste allows me to concatenate. Concatenate 2 strings, and so we're turning I into a string once we do this. And ideally, I would want to put a space here just so it could look a little nicer. So then run this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have our index, and then we have our vector within the within R. Okay. So when it comes to for loops, when I first was introduced to R, I would run for loops all the time. You know, it just made sense. As time progressed, the software development within R became, or more specifically within the tidyverse, became more and more sophisticated. Where we traditionally found, well, it's a common knowledge that the for loops within R are not fast. And so there are mechanisms that we can then use. If we already know that it's a fixed number of iterations that we're going to run through, we can use something a little different. And within this video series, 9 to 12, we will talk about that mechanism. Okay, so with that being the case, let's talk about another familiar iteration technique, the while loop. I'm pretty sure everyone is familiar with the while loop. Okay, and so what it does is a little different, where we don't know when it's going to end. We don't know when it's going to end, but we're going to have a particular specification. Once this statement is true, stop. Once this statement is true, stop. So this is an example of us iterating through each of the rows of the mtcars data frame, and once the once the horsepower, right, the horsepower is less than 120, okay, we're going to stop. Okay, so if we want to just check it out, mtcars, okay, how do I do this fast? Let's do views mtcars, mtcars, okay. Horsepower. Oh, the first one's less than 20. I might change it to be greater than 20, so then it can get to here. So let's try that. I think it should be 4. Let's see if I got my. Let me see if I did my math right. When I change it, but this one should be 1. Oh, it says less than 120. Oh, keep while it's less than 120. My brain fart. Sorry about that. So while it's less than 120, it's going to then print this. It's going to be the first 4. Okay, like we just noticed. Okay, these are 4 less than 20. Less than 120. But if I do greater than, it shouldn't. That's what I originally thought. It shouldn't print at all because the first one is not greater than 120. So it doesn't even enter the while loop. Okay. It even says it right here. My brain fart. I'm sorry. I just had a brain fart. Alright. So with that being the case, we're going to create, or at least create this while loop so that it loops until it's less than 5. So we're going to start off at 1. Okay. And we're going to have the counter we're going to specify the counter, the condition at which we're going to stop the loop here. Counter is less than or equal to 5. Okay. And then we're going to print out what the current counter is. And then we're going to do counter plus 1. Okay. Counter plus 1. So here, this is going to be at first at 1. It's going to check, is it less than 1? It is, so it's going to enter this. And then it's going to say, oh, the count is currently 1, or the current count is 1, and then we're going to add 1 to it, and then it's going to be now 2, and then 2 is less than or equal to 5, so we're good there. It's going to do that, and so on and so forth. Okay, and that's how that works. Okay, so there's a lot of ways of providing the specification. Okay, but this is one way. While loops, in comparison to R, if you're creating a estimation algorithm, I've done this in R, which is kind of cool. You would run this. You could run this. But if you're actually creating an estimation tool, I'm sorry. Pride aside, I'm being recorded. I'm putting it on YouTube. I want to use Python or C++. It is what it is, okay? So while loop, you just know that this exists. You just know that this exists within R, and this is the syntax. I know there are some programmers here, and they want to know if you can just do C++. Counter plus plus. I believe so. Oh, it doesn't work. Okay, that's good. Right? I believe that that's the syntax within Python. So we know that doesn't work. That's cool. Or even if it were to be, let's try one more. I think this also would work in Python, I think. Yeah, it doesn't work. So you legitimately have to have the +1. There we go. Alright. So I think the last loop to talk about is repeat. And there's also a couple other ones that I'm not mentioning, like do this while this condition has been met. But we're not enough time in the video to just keep talking about all the loops. Okay, you can look into this further if you need to. Okay, so at least you have a foundation to repeat while and for. So going into repeat, you're gonna repeat doing this particular task within curly braces until a break statement. So you're gonna keep. So I is equal to 1. You're gonna if I equal 8. The first is going to print out the very first one, okay? Until it's actually equal to 8. But once until it actually equals 8, sorry. So here we go. I'm going to provide the actual card name. So if that's going to be the case, it should be the Hornet Sportabout. Okay, so it's gonna print. It's not gonna print until this condition isn't met, and once it's met, it's gonna break. Okay. Hornet Sportabout. So that worked. At least, yeah, it did work. All right. So it kept going until it kept iterating, adding to the actual condition until it was actually met at the first 8-cylinder car. Okay, well that is it for this video. Thank you for watching. There's no question here for repeat loop. Again, you learned repeat, you learned while, you learned for, and their capacity to iterate through task. Okay, thank you.